This evening we are reading from Srimad Bhagavat Gita, chapter 6. Oh, it's on. Maybe sound is less. It's on. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavat Gita, chapter 6, entitled Dhyana Yoga, text number 16. Nati ashnatastu yogo. I'm sorry. Nati ashnatastu yogosti. Na chay kantam ashnataha. Na chaikantam anashnataha. Na chati swapnashilasya. Jagrito naiva charjuna. Natya ashnatastu yogosti. Na chaikantam anashnataha. Na chati swapnashilasya. Jagrito naiva charjuna. Natya ashnatastu yogosti. Na chaikantam anashnataha. Na chati swapnashilasya. Jagrito naiva charjuna. Kantam anashnataha. Nachati swapnashilasya. Nati ashnatastu yogosti. Na chaikantam ashnataha. Na chati swapnashilasya. Word for word meaning. Na, never. Ati, too much. Ashnataha, of one who eats. Tu, but. Yogaha, linking with the Supreme. Asti, there is. Na, nor. Cha, also. Ekantam, overly. Anashnataha, abstaining from eating. Na, nor. Cha, also. Ati, too much. Swapnashilasya, of one who sleeps. Jagritaha, or one who keeps night watch too much. Na, not. Eva, ever. Cha, and. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charnavind Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Purport. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits and milk. Such simple food stuff is considered to be in the mode of goodness according to the Bhagavad Gita. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Bhunjate te tvagam papa ye pachanti atmakaranat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eats only the remnants of food stuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only a Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. Nor can one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratmishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bhangam Nanghayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatharinam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So, around 1 hour back, Mataji asked me to speak on this class, on this verse. So I was wondering what should I do. Because time is too less and I was not prepared at all for the class. So some days back we were discussing a verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, which describes different kinds of duties which everyone is supposed to do. So in the purport, Prabhu explains that there are 3 kinds of prescribed duties. The first one is the routine, it's called the Nitya Karma, or the routine work. Like every day we have our morning and evening program, or our bodily routine work, eating, sleeping, all those things. And second, Srila Prabhupada mentions as emergency duties. It's called Naimitya Karma. That means it's not a routine duty, but all of a sudden it's also known as ad hoc. We call it ad hoc services. So they come without notice. But it's also part of prescribed duty. So one is supposed to do it actually. One cannot neglect it. For example, all of a sudden if a devotee becomes sick in the night hours, then we have to do the needful to serve that devotee. We cannot say, so it's too late, we can't do anything. So these are the duties which are supposed to be done. So thinking like that, I thought let us go for the class. So we are discussing on the 6th chapter. This name is Dhyana Yoga, and it's always little puzzling for the devotee what Dhyana Yoga has to do with the bhakti. But actually there are different ways to understand this thing. One way to look at it is sometimes Lord consciously tells us something which He knows we'll not be able to do. So that we realize that, oh, I can't do this. So in the 6th chapter, Lord Krishna, He explains the system of Dhyana Yoga as we were hearing from last many verses. It starts from Shloka number 10. From Shloka number 1 to 9, Lord is explaining the difference between, or Lord is explaining what is actual renunciation, what is sannyas, what's actual sannyas, and Prabhupada gives a very beautiful term for that, sannyas yoga. Because Prabhupada explains for a devotee, renunciation means engaging in service to Krishna 24 hours a day. So that's renunciation for a yogi. Like he renounces material work but engages in service to Krishna. So it's sannyas of material work and engagement in service of Krishna. And then Prabhupada goes up, or Lord Krishna goes on explaining in the following verses the quality or the consciousness of such a yogi who is connected to Krishna. And from verse 5 onwards, a beautiful series begins of dealing with the mind. That mind is our best friend and mind is our worst enemy as well. The mind which is controlled and engaged in service to Krishna under proper guidance becomes a friend. And the mind which is uncontrolled and which just runs after sense objects is our worst enemy. And then from verse 10, Lord Krishna explains that the yogi who has to perform Ashtanga Yoga has to go to a secluded place. He has to sit straight on a seat which is neither too high nor too low, and he has to keep his back straight, neck erect, and eyes he has to keep half open, not completely closed, not completely open. And he has to look with the half open eyes at the tip of the nose. Actually, if you try it, I tried it many times, you will get a headache. All you will get is a headache. So it's not very easy to practice this kind of yoga. And no doubt for all such reasons, Arjuna in the following verses, he expresses that, "Oh Lord, what you explained is very difficult for me. It's very nice, you explained very nicely, but I don't think it's practical for me." So, in today's verse, and actually in tomorrow's verse also, same thing is being continued of regulating the bodily activities for attaining success in yoga. So I was just hearing a lecture on this verse by Srila Prabhupada, and the title of the lecture is very nice. The title of the lecture is "Keep This Useless Body Fit." So Srila Prabhupada explains that actually this body is a source of so many kinds of miseries, so many kinds of problems we get from this body. It may be gross body, it may be subtle body. So many problems, so many diseases come from this body. But Srila Prabhupada says, although this body is source of many miseries, and this body is temporary, but this body is very useful, because this is like a car. Srila Prabhupada explains, gives an example, just like a car has to be used to reach the destination. Although we are not the car, but car has to be utilized to reach our destination. Similarly, we are not this body, and the body is filled with so many problems, but it is a medium which can be utilized to achieve the purpose of life. That is, Srila Prabhupada explains, reviving our relationship with Lord Krishna. So, in the first part of the lecture, Srila Prabhupada explains that what is the meaning of yoga, because this chapter is also Dhyana Yoga, and all these verses are describing how you can practice yoga properly, achieve the perfection, and what if you do will not be able to practice yoga properly. As it mentions in this verse that if you eat too much or eat too little, if you sleep too much or too little, then it's not conducive for practicing yoga. So first Srila Prabhupada explains that in this material world, or this material existence, is the diseased condition of the living entity. It's not the normal condition. Just like a person becomes diseased, so that's not the normal condition. It's abnormal condition of the body to be diseased. So just like when we get diseased, we take to a procedure to become well. Similarly, we are now conditioned by this gross and subtle material bodies, so we have to take to a procedure to again become healthy, and that health is reviving our relationship with Krishna, which we have forgotten now. And that Prabhupada says that revival of our relationship with Krishna, or revival of our health, our spiritual health, is called yoga. So that's how Srila Prabhupada defines what's yoga. And then Srila Prabhupada explains very nicely that what is the qualification, or the first step to practice this yoga is that we have to understand the uselessness of things which we acquire through our material senses. In specific, Srila Prabhupada explains about the material knowledge, that although we may become very advanced in material knowledge, but it's almost useless. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example of an eagle. Because Srila Prabhupada says that an eagle can fly very high, really very high. Prabhupada says 7 miles, that means around 10 kilometers. So it can fly very high, and from that height, with its small eye, it can see things on the surface of earth very clearly. But Srila Prabhupada says that although eagle flies very high and it has a very sharp vision, but what the eagle is looking? Dead body. So similarly, although we may become very advanced in material knowledge, and we may arrange or we may devise many gadgets or instruments, machines for enhancing material comforts, But with all that, what we are doing is we are just taking care of this dead body. Because this body is actually dead. Shastra said this body is dead. But the body becomes alive by the presence of the soul. And Sri Prabhupada often used to very strongly say that although there are so many departments of knowledge in different universities throughout the world, but none of the universities have a department to deal with the science of the soul. What's the difference between a living body and a dead body? And Sri Prabhupada explains that although the body is functioning, the mind is functioning, and the body, the senses are functioning only because of the presence of the soul. But scientists, they are so foolish that they are just trying to fulfill the needs of gross body or the mind. That's all. They don't go beyond that. And they want to have permanent pleasure for body and the mind. It is not possible because they themselves are temporary. So how we can have permanent pleasure from temporary things? It's not possible. So that's the first thing you have to understand. And understanding that this body, although is useless and giving so many miseries, at the same time it can be utilized. If it's utilized not for achieving the purpose, then it's like eagle's vision. And if it's properly utilized, then as Lord says in further verses, one can actually become happy. Actual happiness can only be realized when we use this car which we have got. All of us, we have got different cars. Some are become old, some are young. Nowadays, young cars are only becoming old. In young age only we are getting so many diseases. But somehow or other, Sri Prabhupada wanted to give this message that this body is useless, but we have to keep it fit to reach the goal. Just like a car has to be maintained till the time we reach the goal. If we say, okay, I am not this body, I will not take care of this body. And after some time, the body starts doing so many problems, and then we are not able to execute our daily duties. So this requires a balanced understanding. And Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that we have to be balanced. In the name of saying that I have to maintain this car properly, it's not that whole day you keep polishing the car. Whole day you keep just trying to take care of the body, nicely decorating the body and cleaning the body. You have to do needful, but at the same time you have to see that we are spending sufficient time utilizing this body to achieve the purpose for which the body is meant. So that's very important. And then Srila Prabhupada says that we have to take shelter of a spiritual master, because if you are diseased, how do you deal with the disease? You can't just open a book and find a medicine for you. You can find, but it may not be the suitable medicine for you. It's very risky. And nowadays people Google. They just go to internet and they try to find some medicine. But that's not the recommended way of finding the medicine. Recommended way of finding medicine is to approach a doctor. So similarly, to know how to utilize this temporary material body for its purpose, we have to approach a bona fide spiritual master. And Srila explains that when you go to a doctor, and doctor says, okay, this is the medicine for you. And then we say, no, I don't want this medicine, I want that medicine. So that will not work. If you argue with the doctor that, oh, I don't want this medicine, I like that medicine, why don't you give me that medicine? Then doctor will say, okay, you can carry on. Next, you will see the next patient. So when you go to a doctor, we have to take the medicine according to the prescription of the doctor, not according to what we like. Sometimes we go to medicine shop, and so many medicines are there, and we like some medicines by their colors or something, and we say we want that medicine. But that is not the way, because doctor knows our disease, and he can prescribe proper medicines. And if you take those medicines, the proof will become well. In other words, if we take the medicine prescribed by one of our spiritual master, then we will become spiritually healthy. And what's the sign? The simple sign is that we will become very satisfied internally. The heart will become satisfied. And how to understand heart is becoming satisfied? One very easy way to understand is that it will not be too much disturbed by external changes. Because this material world is a world of change. So many things keep on changing. People around keep on changing, situations around keep on changing, our own body keeps on changing, our mental state keeps on changing. So, despite of so many changes, a person who is actually taking the medicine, he will not be much affected by the external situations around him. So, that's the proof of taking the medicine. So this is very, very important. We have to understand that we are sick. We are now in this material body. Srila Prabhu used to say that if you ever become proud of anything you have achieved, material education or material advancement, then only one thing you have to do. You have to just look at your body. Because Prabhu says that this material world is like a jail. And we are like prisoners. So, if you become proud in jail, you have to see your dress. And you understand that you reminded that I am a prisoner. So, there is nothing wonderful that you have done that you have come to this jail. You have committed some crime. Therefore, you have come to this jail. So if you become proud of any material achievement, you just remind that, oh, I have this material body still. That means I committed foolishness, I rebelled against Krishna, therefore I am in this material jail now. And therefore understanding that we are diseased now, we have to go to a doctor and take medicine according to prescription of the doctor. So this is very, very important to understand that we have to go to doctor because of the influence of modern education. Many times we are provoked to think that I can do it on my own. I don't need anyone's help, because this is encouraged actually. This is very much encouraged in schools and colleges, that you struggle, you work hard and find solution yourself. You don't need to submit to anybody. It's very much encouraged, and people find great pleasure in trying to solve problems or things without any help. They feel a sense of achievement. I've done it. I can do it. So they call it self-confidence. But to have self-confidence, you have to first understand what is the self. So we have to be convinced really that I am a patient and I need a doctor. It's very, very important. And scriptures, they are a proof in themselves that you may be a great personality, but still you don't become an exception of accepting a spiritual master. You can't say that, oh, I am so advanced, I am so realized, already I have so much knowledge, so I don't need a spiritual master. No. And the proof is in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. The beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, that's the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Vyasadeva, after composing all the Vedic literatures, all the Puranas, all the Upanishads, and Mahabharata, everything, after compiling everything, Srila Vyasadeva, he is totally dissatisfied. And he is feeling, why I am dissatisfied? And then his spiritual master Srila Narad Muni, he appears on the scene. And then he submits to the spiritual master and asks, why I am not satisfied? And Srila Narad Muni explains that because you have not glorified Krishna exclusively, therefore you are dissatisfied. So this example shows that although one may be as qualified, as learned, what to speak of in material field, even in spiritual field, you may be as learned as Srila Vyasadeva, but you need a spiritual master. Because without a spiritual master, we cannot understand what is our flaw and how to become free, or how to rectify that flaw. So this principle has to be very clearly understood, that we are diseased and we need a spiritual master. And when we accept a spiritual master, what does spiritual master do? So Srila Prabhupada in this chapter, verse number 35, explains that spiritual master is an expert spiritual, he's an expert doctor. So what he does is he gives expert treatment and appropriate diet. Because Prabhupada explains that to cure any disease you need two things. One is you need expert treatment which will cure the disease, and at the same time you need an appropriate diet which doesn't make your disease worse. Because suppose your stomach is not well and you are taking medicine, but at the same time you are taking things which are not good for the stomach to digest, then you become more sick. Nowadays it's a day of allopathy. So they encourage, eat anything, just take my medicine and you'll become cured. But that's not the actual way. Because although superficially your disease may be getting cured, but internally your body is becoming more and more prone to diseases. So that's not the actual way. And Srila Prabhupada says a very beautiful statement, I'll just read it. It's a little ahead, but I'll just... It says that hearing of the Prabhupada says, it is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. That the process given by a spiritual master is like curing a diseased patient through expert treatment and appropriate diet. And then Shiva explains what's that. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is nothing but it's a process of treatment. We are sick and we have to be treated, and the treatment is hearing about Krishna, hearing about transcendental activities of Krishna, and taking appropriate diet. And Srila Prabhupada amazingly in this verse number 16 which we are discussing today spends a good amount of his purport on explaining that what we should eat. And in simple words, Prabhupada says that one should only accept food that is first offered to Krishna, that's Krishna Prasad. Because if one doesn't eat food offered to Krishna, what one is eating is sin. And if you eat sin, then what will happen further is you'll get the reaction of the sin. And actually if you perform sin, then the reaction of sin is it covers our consciousness with layers of mode of ignorance and passion. So therefore devotees are strictly advised to eat only Krishna Prasad, because when we eat Prasad, it purifies our consciousness. Depending upon how much faith we have, Prasad can actually purify our consciousness a lot. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song Shuddha Bhakata says, Prasad seva karite hoya sakala prapancha jaya. That if you eat Prasad or if you honor Prasad, Srila used to say this word, honoring Krishna Prasad. If you honor, because Krishna Prasad is not different from Krishna. So if we serve the Lord in form of Krishna Prasad, then our consciousness can be purified of all sins. And when consciousness is purified of all sins, then actually we can engage our mind in practice of Krishna consciousness steadily. As it's said in Bhagavad Gita, ye tesham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam. That when once all sinful reactions are destroyed, then one can engage oneself with determination in Krishna consciousness. Because if our sinful reactions are not destroyed, then those sinful reactions will keep provoking us to perform further sins. They will not allow us to have a peace of mind, to have a controlled mind and just engage in Krishna conscious activities. Because it's the effect of sin. Sin is like seed. When a seed is sown in the ground, then the tree comes out. And if the tree grows, gradually fruits will come out. So it's explained in Srimad Bhagavatam that one of the effects of committing sin is that you get a sinful reaction, or you get some punishment. But a certain effect of committing a sin is that it sows a seed of committing further sins, and that's very dangerous. Because even if, therefore, Parikshit Maharaj, in the beginning of 6th canto, he asks Srila Shukadeva Goswami that although you have described this process of atonement from sinful activities, but it doesn't seem to be very wise, because one atones for the sin, but desire for sin remains, and then again one will commit sin, and again one will get reaction. So how does atonement does good to one? Then Shukadeva Goswami says, yes, you are right. So again, the example of how sometimes spiritual master Krishna, he doesn't tell the truth in first go. First he tells something and he sees how much the disciple is eager to know the actual truth. Then Shukadeva Goswami says, yes, what you have said is true. And then he says, yes, by practice of knowledge, jnana vimarshana, then one can become purified. And then Parikshit Maharaj is still wondering that this is also doesn't seem to be very simple, what to do. Then Shukadeva Goswami says, yes, actual process is, what you have to do is kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana agam dhanvanti kasnena niharam vibhaskara, that you have to perform pure devotional service, kevalaya bhaktya, only by performance of pure devotional service, which even if little bit of pure devotional service is performed, it can completely destroy all sins from the root. They don't just cut the tree of the sin, but they uproot the tree of the sin, so that further sin or desire to commit sin also goes away. And then also Shukadeva Goswami, he advises Parikshit Maharaj that the purification which one goes through by following tapasa, brahmacharyena, shamena cha, damena cha, all these processes one may perform, but the purification which one gets is not as much as one gets by serving a pure devotee who has dedicated his life to serving Krishna. And he says, nahi tatha aghavan rajan puyeta tap adibhi yah Krishna arpita pranas tat purusha nishevaya. That means you have to serve a pure devotee who has dedicated his life. Yah Krishna arpita pranas, one who has offered, dedicated his life for service of Lord Krishna. Such a pure devotee has to be served. By serving such a pure devotee, all one's sinful propensities will be destroyed. In fact, in the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is not meant to get rid of some insignificant stock of sins. It's very strong. It's not, Krishna consciousness is not meant just for getting rid of some insignificant sins. No. It's meant to revive our love of Krishna. That's the actual the effect of Krishna consciousness. That's what we are trying to achieve by practicing the process of Krishna consciousness, not just getting rid of some sins. So it started from prasad seva karite hoya sakala brahma. How just by honoring Krishna prasad we can get rid of sins, and when we get rid of sins, then we can perform our spiritual duties with determination. So that's what Srila Prabhupada explains in this verse at great length, that a person or a devotee, he eats only Krishna prasad, he does not eat anything else. And he quotes a verse from chapter 3, text number 13, very famous verse. Yagya Shishtasana Santo Muchyante Sarvakilpishai Bhunjate Te Tvagham Papam Ye Pachanti Atma Karanat. And Prabhupada says in the purport of this verse that because it's a series of verses going on where Lord is explaining that demigods are agents of Krishna to arrange all the material facilities in this world. So when we accept material facilities, they have to be first offered to demigods by the medium of yajna. Otherwise, one is a thief, in plain words. And then Prabhupada, in the purport of this verse, Prabhupada explains that without offering or without performing yajna, one is a thief. If one is not performing yajna, one is a thief. Because one is utilizing the property of the Krishna without even admitting or that it's Krishna's property and by his arrangement, his mercy I am using. And if one doesn't offer his food to Krishna, then he is eating sin. And Prabhupada says that one who is both a thief and a sinner, how he can be peaceful? It's not possible. If someone commits theft, he is always restless in his mind because he is always fearful. And by committing sin, one becomes more and more fearful actually, because when Srimad Bhagavatam explains that fear is the effect of our past sinful reactions. If we are feeling fearful in some situation, that means it's a reaction of some sin which is coming. So unless one gives up this theft and one offers food to Krishna, one cannot be peaceful. Shiva explains in that verse. So it's very, very important. And actually this verse and tomorrow's verse, they explain the regulation of the body, how bodily activities like eating and sleeping, they have to be regulated. Because Sri Prabhupada often used to say that it's very important for us to come to mode of goodness, because people in general in this world, they are in mode of passion and ignorance. And till the time we are in passion and ignorance, we cannot practice Krishna consciousness properly. Because mode of ignorance means, or mode of goodness actually means we can see things clearly. So Prabhupada used to say, as they are. We can see things as they are. That is mode of goodness. And mode of passion means our consciousness is hazy. Anything which we want to do, we are confused. Should I eat this or not? Maybe, may not be. Should I do this or not? Confusion. That's the sign of mode of passion. Goodness means you are clear. This is not good for me, this is good for me. Clear. Passion means confusion. Ignorance means you are clear, but opposite way. What is worse for you, that you will think this is best for me. And what is good for you, you will think this is the last thing which I want to do. So this is the effect of mode of ignorance. So till the time we are in mode of passion and ignorance, we cannot practice Krishna consciousness properly. So Prabhupada says we have to come to mode of goodness. And one very important aspect to come to mode of goodness is regulation. And regulation both in terms of our bodily activities and in terms of our spiritual activities. But bodily activities are also important to be regulated, because sometimes we neglect this focus on regulating bodily activities, but then we end up even compromising our spiritual activities, because still we haven't got the realization that I am not this body. This realization is very important. Till the time, in proportion to the realization that I am not this body, we can actually we can to some extent neglect the needs of this body. But till the time we don't have this realization, we have to have a balance. Like the 6 Goswamis, they used to only sleep 1 or 2 hours. And some of them, like Raghunath Das Goswami, they used to just drink 1 palmful of buttermilk. But if you do that, Prabhupada says we will die. We will die because we don't have that realization. So accordingly, we have to regulate our bodily activities and also our spiritual activities. So regulation in terms of bodily activities is very important aspect of that is as Prabhupada explains, sleeping 6 hours daily. It is very important actually. Sometimes we say that devotees, even after many years, they feel sleepy while chanting, which is very important time for us. And actually we were discussing with some devotees that sometimes we say, oh, I don't have taste for chanting, so I feel sleepy. Oh, I am committing offenses if I am feeling sleepy. That's okay, but the majority of the cases, devotees, they are not taking proper rest. If they take proper rest, they can actually chant without sleep. Then controlling mind is the next step. But the first step only we are failing because of just taking care of this small thing, which Prabhupada explains here. That Lord Krishna says that one who sleeps too less, he cannot practice yoga properly. Or one who sleeps too more, he also cannot practice yoga properly. So you have to regulate it. So Prabhupada gives the regulation also 6 hours. So for a healthy person, 6 hours is sufficient. Someone is sick, it's a different thing, but for a healthy person, 6 hours are sufficient. In terms of sleeping, this is the regulation, and it's very important sleeping early, not just 6 hours. Because sometimes materialistic people, they also sleep 6 hours, but they sleep 6 hours, morning 3 to 9. That's not the time. Recently we were in some college, so we used to see the hostels, the building, the lights were up. When we used to get up, still the lights were on, and after 1 or 2 hours the lights will close, because they sleep at the time which we sleep. So that's not proper time. So it's important to have sufficient rest and at proper time. Early to sleep, and we can get up early and then we can do our duties properly. And secondly, in terms of our spiritual activities, the regulation is very well designed and gifted to us by Srila Prabhupada in terms of morning and evening program. That's already decided. We just have to determine ourselves to follow it. And effect we will see very deep effect will be there in our consciousness if we can continuously follow this regulation. Because bhakti, we are practicing process of sadhana bhakti. That means regulated devotional service. So this regulation is very important, because unless we regulate our spiritual activities, also our physical activities, then the effect which has to be achieved will not be achieved. And Srila Prabhupada used to give an example, we just end with this example, that an iron rod, if you keep in fire, then after prolonged time, the iron rod itself becomes fiery. But suppose if you keep the rod in fire for some time, then remove it, and again keep it, then again remove it, then it will never become fiery. So similarly, regulation means doing same activity, chanting, hearing Bhagavatam in morning, Bhagavatam in evening, and doing our services, doing same things every day, same time. So when we do that, then we will see how we will achieve that fiery effect. We will become spiritualized, and as we discussed, the effect will be, or we can perceive that will not be much disturbed by external situations, because our constitutional position is that of servant of Krishna, and in that position we have nothing to do with anything external of this world. So actually external should not disturb us, but because we don't identify ourselves as a soul or servant of Krishna, because we still identify with the things of this world, we get disturbed by situations of this world. But when we practice the process prescribed by an expert doctor, and we stick to the prescription and take the expert treatment and appropriate diet, hearing about Krishna and taking Krishna Prasad with regulation, then gradually will become healthy, spiritually healthy. And the sign is very clear that we'll feel very deep satisfaction of heart, and when heart is deeply satisfied, anyways we don't look for pleasure outside. we hardly satisfied, then one doesn't need to find that satisfaction outside. So we stop here. Any questions or comments?